Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey is not a heroic adventure in the traditional sense. It's a bruised, salt-scrubbed epic about guilt, memory, and the terrifying possibility that surviving war may damage a person more deeply than dying in it. Most adaptations of Homer treat the story as a chain of mythical encounters. Nolan treats it like a psychological reckoning. The Cyclops, the Sirens, even Athena herself feel less like fantasy creations than manifestations of a mind trying to survive its own past. That approach defines the entire film. Nolan's version of mythology is grounded almost to the point of brutality. The monsters are physical, heavy, dangerous. Storms feel violent because they are filmed as actual weather battering actual bodies. Gods are never whimsical. Zendaya's Athena appears less like a radiant Olympian and more like an accusation Odysseus cannot escape. Nolan constantly leaves open the question of whether divine intervention is real or whether Odysseus is mythologizing his trauma to make sense of atrocities committed during the Trojan War. The fractured structure is crucial. This is not non-linear storytelling for puzzle box entertainment. The story loops backward the way traumatic memory does. Scenes from Troy interrupt moments at sea without warning. A victory suddenly becomes a massacre. A quiet conversation collapses into screams. The effect is emotionally exhausting in the best way. The audience experiences Odysseus as a man unable to separate past from present. The sea itself starts feeling like an extension of his mental state, repetitive, punishing, endless. Matt Damon gives one of the strongest performances of his career. His Odysseus is intelligent in a way that feels dangerous. Every solution carries moral compromise. Damon plays him as a man who has spent 20 years turning survival into justification. The brilliance of the performance is that heroism never fully disappears, but it's poisoned by self-awareness. He wants to return home while suspecting he no longer deserves it. Anne Hathaway is extraordinary as Penelope. Nolan understands that Ithaca cannot merely symbolize home, it has to feel alive enough to justify the journey. Hathaway gives Penelope enormous emotional authority. She is strategic, furious, exhausted, and constantly calculating how to survive politically while preserving dignity. Her scenes provide the film's emotional center. Tom Holland's Telemachus works as the story's inheritance theme embodied in human form. He has grown up on stories about his father and must confront the difference between legend and reality. Holland wisely underplays the role. His restraint makes the eventual father-son confrontations devastating. Robert Pattinson's Antinous is one of the film's smartest surprises. He avoids theatrical villainy entirely. Instead, he plays corruption as casual entitlement. In a movie filled with monsters, Pattinson becomes the most recognizably modern threat, a man who mistakes power for ownership. Technically, the film is staggering. Hoyte van Hoytema's IMAX cinematography captures oceans and skies with terrifying scale. The practical effects matter because they create physical resistance. The Cyclops sequence works because actors are interacting with a massive animatronic presence rather than empty space. Scylla attacks feel horrifying because bodies are violently yanked through real water. Nolan restores weight to blockbuster filmmaking. Ludwig Göransson's score is less melodic than ritualistic. Metallic percussion and ancient vocal textures create constant tension. Combined with Nolan's overwhelming sound design, the film often feels physically oppressive. That intensity will divide audiences. The film is not flawless. Its conceptual seriousness occasionally creates emotional distance. Some modernized dialogue clashes awkwardly against the ancient setting, and Nolan's dense structure sometimes suppresses the primal adventure pleasures audiences may expect from the Odyssey. Still, the ambition is astonishing. Nolan transforms mythology into a meditation on war trauma, political decay, masculine identity, and the stories people tell to survive themselves. This is not comforting prestige cinema. It is a storm system disguised as an epic. I'd give The Odyssey a 4.5 out of 5. It falls just short of perfection because of its emotional severity, but as a piece of filmmaking, it's immense, haunting and unforgettable.